opinion. Yeah, no, it's crazy. Like I've experienced some wild things in the last like 2 or 3 weeks where I never expected that I wouldn't be able to save an interview. I've done countless interviews, Chris Cyborg, Bruce Buffer, you name it. And this guy Vladimir couldn't save it for nothing. And we talked about some serious stuff. So that says to me that what I think is going on is probably likely what's going on.
Okay.
Okay. This is Kerry Stellar, and I am here speaking with Tim Kennedy. Very nice to meet you finally. Great to speak with you. It's an honor.
Pleasure to talk to you.
For people that don't know, any of my followers, Tim is a retired professional mixed martial artist. You left the UFC to re-enlist in the United States military, and you are a sergeant in the special ops?
Yep, it's Green Beret, so Special Forces.
Oh, very, very cool. So now, what made you take the transition, retire from MMA? I know what made you do it, but I'm sure my fans or our fans would like to know what made you do that. Leave a loop there military.
Yeah, we've been part of the war on terror for 20 years, and during that period of time, I've been in Special Forces for 16 years. So I've had the privilege of working for multiple commanders in chief, and my whole entire career has been through war. So you have to remember that the lens that I view things through is not typical, because I look at I judge leaders about how they're going to affect my life, and by like the ethics, morals, and principles that I try to live by. So having worked for Bush and gone and done great things, well, not really caring about any of his policies, just from a military perspective. Like, imagine your job when occupationally, when you're looking at like professionally, who is going to be your manager, who's going to be the owner of the company. Those are really important things that's going to determine whether you're going to stay at that company or you're going to try to transition to a new company. It's similar in that regards for the military. And you have some people that are very pro-military and try and support it and give us the tools that we need so we can go and win fights. And then sometimes not so much. And I fought 8 years in Afghanistan and Iraq and Africa and South America under the Obama administration. That was really challenging. And some good things about him and some bad things about him. But moving into the 2016 elections, it was Hillary Clinton or President Trump. And I had a lot of friends that had worked for Bill Clinton, and a lot of horrific things happened to them in the military, to include Mogadishu and Benghazi. And so then with Hillary Clinton at the time, Secretary Hillary Clinton, what happened in Benghazi, those were a lot of my friends. Those are people that I work with, people that I train, people that I deploy with. And so I wouldn't have had confidence, and I couldn't put my life in the hands of another person that I couldn't trust in what was going to happen. So after she didn't win, I re-enlisted so I could continue my career within Special Forces. And I'm happy with my decision. I miss fighting, of course, but I love the military. I love Army Special Forces, and I love my job.
Well, I've seen you still train too, which is awesome. At least you get to do that, and you're able to still have your foot in the fight industry, and you are fighting in a different way. And it's funny. I don't shy away from questions like that, and people always ask me, who did you vote for? I said I think it's pretty obvious who I voted for, and exactly the same reasons that you did. I looked at it as a perspective of, morally, what is this going to do for my life? Is this going to make my life better? And just looking, I'm 41 years old, from Bill Clinton's presidency down to 2016, I wanted to vote for a guy that would do bipartisan work and would want to, our military was depleted. I could go on and on and on about the reasons, but you're fighting for a winning team. So now we have a crazy media out there, and I'll say that because it's the most incredible thing I've ever actually sat back and witnessed. From, you know, we were able to say whatever we wanted. You had your freedom of speech, you had freedom of press. And then I think I noticed it with, what was his name? Oh, I can't think of it. The guy on the radio that got taken off the radio for saying stupid shit. He was very sexual. What was his name? I can't think of it off the top of my head. But he got taken off the radio. He said some stuff at the same time Oprah Winfrey had said some stuff, and she didn't get taken off of the airwaves, and her show didn't get taken away from her. And I can't believe his name is escaping me, and I could see his face right here. But I said, this is freedom of speech. This is, if you don't want to listen to him, turn off his radio show. It's just really that easy. And I said, you know, I watched certain freedoms being infringed upon over the last 15, 18 years. You know, so I agree. It's one, we need to be in a team that's winning, and two, we need a media that's not going to sit there and spread lies, misinformations, be afraid to tell the truth or talk about it. And that's why I wanted to interview you. The stuff I've been seeing on the news and the stuff I've seen and heard President Trump say, nobody's talking about.
Yeah, you know, it's not. While I think the media is primarily to blame, we're living in an era of the outrage culture where, you know, people get triggered, and we're using that as an excuse for people to act irresponsibly with their words, right? So if I say something that somebody else doesn't like, there's now like a systematic, almost strategic approach to how to neutralize what I have to say. You know, they're whether that's going to the social media avenue that I'm talking through, and, you know, reporting me, or having all the people that think like me report me, or trying to take the things that I say and categorize those things as hate speech, so I'm not allowed to say them, or have such a negative, like, visceral response and multiply that to like this group or this collective, where that what I said gets magnified and kind of taken out of context, and that group then starts doxing and attacking me or my family or the school or whatever. Well, it seems random when you look at individual things, but when you take a step back and you look about how this outrage culture, both the media and through social media, how they're limiting how people are able to communicate. You know, like, I don't think that there's any other way besides for everyone to reasonably say that they're negatively affecting our ability to speak freely. And like, it's a pretty important part of the Constitution, right? So that we can have freedom of speech. So when at some point when you don't like what somebody says, that's okay.
Yeah.
They still have their right to say it. But that's not the approach anymore. The approach is, okay, well then how do we get them to not say those things, or limit them so nobody can hear what they have to say? And it's happening time and time and time again from, you know, I think you're talking about Howard Stern. Is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. From Howard Stern to InfoWars, like, regardless if you like those guys or you think they're crazy, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, they have the right to say those things. The only time that freedom of speech should not be allowed is when it negatively affects somebody else, right? So like saying screaming fire inside of a movie theater, because that can get people hurt, trampled on. But going outside and saying something that makes my blood boil because I disagree with it so passionately, awesome. Like, that is your right to do that. To the most nth degree, right? Burning on the American flag, pooping on, like, I don't care. That is your right. It might be dumb, but that's your right. And I think we're in a period of time where people don't realize how dangerous of a time we're living in, where those freedoms are being eroded faster than they have in history.
Yes, they are. I mean, you can't post something without it being taken down, like you said, without you being reported. I just recently have been able to start searching things on Google that I wasn't able to a couple months ago, which shows their censorship is pretty much lifted. But then I go to search it and it's like buried. So it's really wild, the stuff that you're witnessing, right? And then I'm watching all of the addresses that are going on around the virus. We all know it's real. It's, stay away from people, listen to what they're telling you. I get that. But what I'm not understanding is when President Trump is talking about rescuing 25,000 people from overseas, and saying that they were locked in, and the words that he was using and the verbiage he was using, how nobody on the news is saying, okay, obviously President Trump is talking about, I would venture to say, human trafficking. He spoke about it yesterday. The drug cartels that he spoke about 2 days ago or last week, nobody reports on it. Nobody wants to talk about it. And I get it. It's, you're saying things that could get you, it's scary. You don't know what could happen. You could lose your job. We've seen it happen in the last 2 weeks. People have lost their job over saying something that they, it's their belief or whatever. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's bad. It's not just our freedom of speech. Obviously, if there's something that YouTube doesn't like, or Twitter doesn't like, or Facebook doesn't like, Instagram doesn't like, they're able to bury that.
Yeah.
And that seems really inconsequential if you agree with them burying that. But you have to imagine those rules being reversed, right? Where, the NAACP comes out and says something, and that gets buried. But you agree with what they're saying, but now you can't find it.
Yeah.
Nobody else can find it.
Yeah.
Or the NRA says something, right? Obviously, opposite ends of the spectrum. Now, if you don't like the NRA, you're like, that's okay. I don't care. The NRA, they should be able to say things, and I don't like what they say. But imagine, if the ACLU said it, or, like your favorite politician said it, and all of a sudden the algorithm, because of the political position of that person, that disappears from anybody's ability to be able to hear it. Now, I understand that those are all private corporations: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. But currently, those are town forums. Those are, in a sense, utility. I am against the litigiousness of our society. I'm against kind of how we are in creating so many laws. And I, as a libertarian, I don't want the government to be getting into people's business, because I hope that capitalism can even out all indiscretions. But a monopoly is when somebody has complete control over something and nobody is able to enter into that market. And that's what it is right now with those 4 powerhouses.
Yeah.
So even if a new opportunity or a new platform came out for somebody to speak freely, everybody's even, it can't exist. There's no way that could support, even if the consumer under this capitalistic idea could run to it, it would be squashed and destroyed by these powerhouses, by these monopolies. And they're serving as a utility. And in practice, they are neutralizing the voices that they disagree with. And that's a problem.
Yeah, I agree. Just because you don't agree with it doesn't mean that it's not right or not the truth even. And at the end of the day, a lot of the stuff, if you go on research that's being taken down or being reported, whatever the case may be, you can find factual truth behind it. I put something up, it gets taken down, and it's, like immediate, but it's all stuff that you can literally go, it was said yesterday on the news or in the addresses, and none of it is being talked about. And to me, General Flynn said it, and he said that the media has done themselves a disservice. It's a disgrace, and what they've done to the American people is a disservice and a disgrace as well, because it's misleading. It's caused us to have a divide that I've never seen anything like. I'm not going to just blame it on them. We're at fault too. We have our phones on our hand 24/7, looking at Facebook and, sharing it, liking it. And it's in your face. You can't even help it at that point. But for me, there's so much stuff going on right now at this current time that's so important and imperative that people know. It's just not getting out there. So that's why more than ever, I've been trying to kind of steer away from the MMA and get more into what's really going on and what can I do to serve my country, which would be getting the truth out there in any means possible.
Yeah. We're hammering freedom of speech, but that's not the only one that's being infringed upon right now. Google said that they're going to be tracking people's movements. And while they have been doing that for a long time, I'm well aware of that. Thank you for everybody pointing out that Google and everyone has been tracking our locations. Um, not since the Patriot Act. So under the Patriot Act, you would have to go to a judge and get a warrant
Yes.
to be able to access that person's information. What Google is saying that they're going to be doing is handing that information directly over to health officials. That's the government. When we say health officials, that means Google, a private enterprise, is going to be tracking where everybody is going, who they're going to who they're going to be with, and then they're going to hand the information over to the government.
Mm-hmm.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you have a dude cruising down the Pacific Ocean on a paddleboard and he's getting arrested for being on the Pacific Ocean, and we have Google that's tracking your location and handing that over to the government, and the government saying, hey, at some point we might have to go into people's homes to remove family members out that we think are sick because we don't want them to get other people sick, because it appears that people are transmitting this illness and this virus even at their homes. And we're just like, oh, okay, well, it's to protect the old. So yeah, for sure. Come on in. Let's just give up another form of protection that has been provided since 1776, right? Like you can't come into my front door. I own this place unless you have a warrant. And where is that warrant coming from? From Google? That's not how that works.
Yeah.
So things are dangerous right now, and people need to wake up about how fragile this thing that we call freedom is.
It is. And I've been saying it for a while, the dangerous and the severity of the situation that's going on is really, it's like nothing I've ever seen. And it's just so many freedoms that are I can't even like count on my hands. I mean, at the end of the day, I remember last year watching Facebook and seeing, I can't count on my hands how many videos of women talking about them being followed and almost accosted, them and their kids taken and into vans. And I'm sitting here and I'm watching this and going, okay, follow the bouncing ball. We got human trafficking, a major, major problem with it. And this goes worldwide. And just from what I've been watching from all of the addresses and reading and everything that I'm seeing, that seems to be something that right now our administration is doing, is taking down sex trafficking, drug trafficking, child trafficking. And then I want to know why they're training people to fight underground. I mean, to me, that says that, tunnels, sex trafficking, they got to get it somewhere. Can you elaborate on that?
I mean, nothing new. People that do nefarious things try to do those things in darkness and without the purview of the good guys. So the good guys have to learn new ways to combat the techniques that the bad guys are using. So we are building a wall. That's happening. And that wall is preventing the movement of people that it used to be easy, right? Like you could drive across the border.
Yeah.
You could clip a couple of links of chain link fence and you could walk a couple of miles, link up at a new intersection, and off you go. Well, now you got a 40-foot wall. Right, that has surveillance equipment that's being patrolled by drones. So it is a physical barricade that is also being watched. A lot of people skip over, like they just think wall and that's all that there is. But any obstacle that doesn't have eyes on it is not an obstacle. Yeah. So the reason why the DMZ between North and South Korea is so dangerous is because of the number of eyeballs that are always watching. There's not an inch that isn't covered by eyes. And that's what we're doing with our southern border. And so the drug cartels and the smugglers, whether it's human traffic or guns or drugs, they're trying to figure out new ways to get around, over, or under that wall. And in doing so, that means that guys like me have to train in fighting the ways that those guys are trying to circumvent our new preventative measure of them taking children across the border to have them rape their entire lives.
Yeah. And the more I'm reading about that, the more I'm reading about and seeing and actually going and researching, it's disgusting. The stuff that's being buried is just, it's atrocious. I was listening to Sidney Powell's speech. I think she was talking at Harvard. And started getting into the emails, and that if she was Trump, she would get it to the most trusted person in the military because it's got some really, really bad stuff on there. And uh, people could draw their own conclusions from that. But from what I got out of that, all the rumors and conspiracies that people were talking about were very, very real. And for her to come out and say that, in a public speaking arena, so to speak, is, it says something, in my personal opinion. And the fact that people will just look past it and go, no, that'll never happen. That could never happen. Well, it can, and it does,
Yeah.
and people need to know that. They need to know the truth, and it's being buried everywhere.
Yeah. I don't know the motivation why somebody would want to bury um, women and children and being hurt,
Yeah.
like regardless of who's doing it. That is not a party issue. Like,
Yeah.
that is a bipartisan problem where I think everybody with the soul be like, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't care who's doing it. Like, we
Yeah.
have to hold them accountable.
Absolutely.
Like, who is on this plane and why were they going to this island? How many times did they go there?
Thank you.
That should be common knowledge that, okay, well, these people are assholes.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not going to, not only not am I not going to vote for them, I'm not going to vote for their family members, and I'm going to make sure that whatever organizations that are funding these activities, whether they be charitable, nonprofits, that those things have no money, because clearly they're using them for nefarious things.
Yeah. And this goes so deep. I mean, I've done so much research. I can't even tell. The things that I've read, the things that I've seen just really shook me to my core. But at the end of the day, I knew they were going on. I knew this stuff was going on years and years ago. If you research and you just listen, and that's the thing, people don't listen. So there, I can count on my hands how many journalists I've talked to that I said, did you hear Trump talking about the human trafficking yesterday, or rescuing 25,000 people in over 40 countries overseas, that he was saying they were literally locked in, which, you're caged in, you're locked in. It makes a lot of sense. And they're like, what are you talking about? I said, well, you could go on the White House website, whitehouse.gov, and look at all the remarks that they've done, and every single one of his addresses, you could verbatim look at what he says. So now I've had to not only go and show people, I have to screenshot it, because that's a lot to read. Well, yeah, and I just did all the work for you, so
Yeah.
but it's there.
Yeah. But they don't want anyone to see. I'll call them primary sources, right? Everything nowadays is anecdotal evidence. So I'm going to use this kind of outlier example. Even with Corona, I get it. It's dangerous. It can hurt people, and it has hurt people, and it will continue to hurt people. And that those people are already the outliers, right? They're the weak, the old, that they already have immunity issues, respiratory issues. I got it. We have to protect them collectively as a community. We should do our best, but at what cost? Anytime that the cure is more damaging than the disease, you can't use the cure, right? And if we're going to shut down trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars worth of the economy, we're not talking money versus lives. We're talking lives versus lives.
Absolutely.
Because when people are poor, when people can't put food on their plates, when people can't feed their kids, when people can't pay their rent, then they're homeless. Now there's more drug addicts. Now there's more alcoholism. Now there's more suicide. This is a super slippery slope that it happens really fast. And in a month of people not working, like we've already seen the unemployment numbers. Yeah. Another month like that, we're talking suicide, drug addicts, in amounts that we can't even fathom, that we haven't seen in 80, 90 years. So, like, we have to be diligent in paying attention to not what they want us to say, but the primary source, what is really being said.
Yeah.
So, they bury the things that they don't want you to hear, and they bring out things that they want you to get spun up about, because they make more money the more that you're spun up.
Absolutely.
Like, if you don't understand that if you aren't doing more clicking, they're not making money. So they want you to click.
All the time.
So if you have President Trump that says, hey, this malaria medicine, this might work, and I've seen it work sometimes, and then 5 seconds later, he starts talking about how they rescued 25,000 people.
Yes.
You're not going to hear about the 25,000 people that were rescued, because nobody wants good news.
Yeah.
Well, the media doesn't want good news. They only want, wait, he said he's not a doctor. He can't prescribe people malaria. It doesn't matter, man. Like, leave it all in a neutral information as a primary source, so people can go and figure it out themselves.
Yeah. It's true. And it's how they treat him is just atrocious in itself. I actually already wrote the press the guy that does the press credentials at the White House, because I would love nothing more than to sit there and ask the question that should be asked and treat him how she I mean, it's just not right. I've looked at the way that the media and even just everybody in politics have treated every single other president, and it's really wild. And I said, if somebody's hated on a lot of sides, it's because they're doing something that is either going to threaten what the other people, their way of life, or their road has been for so long, right? So
Yeah,
now there's a new road, there's a new option. We have a
yeah,
guy that wants us to have, at least from what I'm seeing, for what my life would be a better life. So now that we have options and people like freaked out. I mean, you could see it. People are still not over the fact that he won. This is 4 years later, guys. Get over it. He's going to win another 4 years. I mean, they need to get over it. First, I tell people, if you don't like winning, I'm fine with that. You could tell me that, and I'll accept that as an answer. But anything else at this point, give me concrete reasons, because I'll give you an educated synopsis as to why I voted for him. And most people can't. They can't
yeah.
give you an educated reason. They just want to, okay, well, we don't I had a girl tell me they don't like his hair and that he's orange. And I said, I feel really bad for you. Like, if that's why you don't like him, I feel bad.
Yeah.
I mean, he says that, oh, well, he's a misogynist. Well, you know what? He's a man. He's a man. And if you look at the other presidents, he's not a pedophile. He's not a guy groping people's kids that they don't even know. When people go, well, that's like a grandfather. No, that's not. No, my
No,
grandfather wouldn't have touched kids he don't know. You know what I mean?
no.
It's just weird what the world is accepting and what's okay and what's not.
Yeah.
And like I said, I really, really, really wanted to reach out and speak to you, because I felt, if anybody, I've watched you on Fox News, I've watched you speak before, and you have no problems with saying how you feel and the truth. So I really needed this, and I really, really sincerely appreciate it.
Well, it's my pleasure. And, just keep fighting the fight and, you know, protect our freedoms.
Absolutely, at any cost. And thank you so much. Tell everybody where they can follow you, because you got some really great stuff going on, and your Instagram's awesome.
Yeah, thanks. Tim Kennedy MMA is all the social media. And my company is Sheepdog Response, so you can follow them too.
Awesome, awesome. And I just got to ask you, no chance of you ever fighting again?
I competed a couple of times this year in some grappling tournaments, and it felt really good to be back in the competition kind of cycle. Uh, um, and obviously, I'm still in kind of fight shape, so that option's always there, but it's not currently on the horizon.
Well, as a Tim Kennedy fan, in and outside of the cage, if that ever happens, one, I'd love to do an interview and talk about that. Two, thank you so much for what you're doing. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your time. And yeah, keep fighting the good fight and go get them.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
All
Bye.
right, talk to you later. Bye.
You too. Bye.